Deep in an Asian forest, something is moving behind a slit no wider than a finger. Hours earlier, a female great hornbill stepped willingly into this hollow high above the ground. Then, from inside, she narrowed the entrance until almost the entire opening disappeared. Her mate now carries every meal back through the canopy, one delivery at a time. Through that single slit, one piece of fruit passes precisely from his bill to hers. For months, why does a bird trade the open sky for a hollow inside a tree? To understand this, we must first look at the scale of this giant canopy flyer. The male great hornbill is an imposing figure, boasting a massive yellow casque atop its bill. This casque is hollow and lightweight, yet its true biological purpose remains an unsolved mystery. In contrast, the female is slightly smaller, with distinct pale. They navigate the mature primary evergreen forest, where ancient trees rise high above the humid canopy.
When they take flight, the rush of air through their unfeathered wing quills creates a loud roar.
This deep, mechanical whooshing sound can be heard vibrating across the forest from far away. Gliding effortlessly between emergent trees, they survey their vast territory in search of seasonal wild fruits. Figs are their primary lifeline, offering rich nutrition to fuel their demanding energy needs. With incredible precision, the male plucks a ripe red fig from a delicate, swaying branch. He tosses the fruit upward into the air and catches it cleanly before swallowing it whole. This feeding habit makes them vital seed dispersers, keeping the entire old-growth forest healthy and diverse. But as the critical breeding season approaches, their focus shifts from foraging to finding a home. They do not excavate their own nests, relying instead on pre-existing cavities in giant trees.
The search requires a hollow that is spacious, secure, and positioned high above potential predators.
Once the perfect ancient nesting tree is selected, the female prepares to make her entry. Returning to our focal tree, the female examines the natural cavity entrance with great care. She steps inside, testing the internal space that will soon become her entire world. Once inside, she immediately begins the arduous process of sealing herself off from the outside. Using only her bill, she slowly narrows the entrance from inside the hollow. Slowly but steadily, she applies the wet mixture around the inner edges of the opening. Day by day, the gaping natural hollow begins to shrink under her deliberate, tireless plastering. The male watches closely from a nearby branch, ready to support her monumental building effort. As the plaster dries, it hardens into a tough, protective shield against the elements. Eventually, only a narrow vertical slit remains, just wide enough for air and food deliveries. With the wall complete, the female is now voluntarily sealed alive in absolute darkness. This extreme isolation marks the beginning of her most vulnerable and dedicated reproductive phase. From this moment on, her survival is entirely dependent on the devotion of her mate. At dawn, the male arrives with the first delivery of the day, calling out softly. Through the narrow slit, he passes a single forest fig with gentle, practiced precision. Inside the dark chamber, the female receives the nutrient-rich meal to sustain her strength. She will soon lay her eggs, cradling them safely within the insulated wooden fortress. During this quiet incubation period, the female sheds all her flight feathers in a complete molt. Flightless and helpless, she is completely unable to escape if the nest tree is compromised. But her mate never falters, flying back and forth to keep her nourished and safe. He brings a diverse diet, including lipid-rich wild fruits and occasional highly nutritious forest insects. Weeks pass, and a tiny, naked hatchling finally emerges from its delicate white shell.
The chick is blind and entirely dependent on its mother's warmth inside the sealed hollow.
Now, the male must double his foraging efforts to feed both his mate and offspring. He returns dozens of times each day, carrying multiple figs stored safely in his throat. He regurgitates the fruit one by one, carefully passing them through the protective slit. The growing chick develops rapidly, its skin darkening as early feather tracts begin to appear. Heavy monsoon rains lash against the outer bark, but the nursery remains dry and warm. As the chick grows larger, the confined space inside the cavity becomes increasingly crowded. The time has come for the female to open the dry seal from inside. With powerful thrusts of her bill, she chips away at the hardened barrier from within. She emerges into the bright daylight, spreading her newly regrown flight wings for the first time.
After the female leaves, the growing chick narrows the opening again from inside.
The parents now cooperate, passing food to the walled-in chick from opposite sides of the branch. This secondary seal protects the growing chick until it is ready to fledge. Finally, the chick breaks the wall once more, taking its very first flight into the canopy. This complex and delicate survival system relies completely on the health of the old-growth forest. They need massive old trees with natural cavities that only time can create. Without these ancient giants, these magnificent birds have nowhere safe to raise their young. As primary forests disappear, protecting these key nesting habitats becomes critical for their survival. The Great Hornbill's bizarre strategy is a testament to the evolutionary power of trust and adaptation. One narrow slit, one ancient tree, and a devoted partner create an unmatched cradle of life. Subscribe to follow the hidden lives of the world's most extraordinary birds. Subscribe to follow the hidden lives of the world's most extraordinary birds.